Earth, still reeling from years of environmental devastation and geopolitical instability, struggles to regain its footing. The planet's cities, once teeming with life, now stand as fractured remnants of their former glory. Amid the rubble, humanity has begun to rebuild its infrastructure, but the road to recovery is long and resources remain scarce. The planet is divided, not just by physical damage, but by an ideological rift between the old world leaders who cling to traditional power structures and a new generation of visionaries eager to propel Earth into a new era of innovation. Tensions between these factions threaten to slow the progress necessary for Earth to establish itself as a player in the galaxy. Despite this internal strife, Earth's capacity to defend itself or make an impact on the galactic stage remains minimal. The once promising planet now stands isolated, its influence in the cosmos nearly non-existent, and its future uncertain. Humanity's only hope lies in its adaptability. Despite its limited resources and fractured political system, humans have made strides in space exploration, establishing a few fledgling space stations and small military fleets that guard the planet's immediate interests. Yet Earth's advances have made little impact on the more advanced civilizations that dominate the stars. The human race's contributions to galactic discourse remain largely dismissed. Still, Earth's unyielding will to survive has allowed the species to survive in a universe where power is defined by technology and military might. The human race is, at best, a blip on the galactic radar, insignificant yet stubborn. Earth's greatest challenge is not just to survive, but to carve out a place in a universe that offers little space for those lacking power. Captain Maria. Orton stands as one of the few unifying figures in Earth's defense forces. At just over 40 years old, she is a battle-hardened leader, forged through years of intergalactic skirmishes and the mounting responsibility of safeguarding humanity's fragile future. Her eyes carry the weight of the many losses she has endured, yet her resolve is unwavering. Where others might falter, Orton stands firm, believing that Earth's greatest strength lies not in brute force, but in its adaptability. Her leadership is both pragmatic and strategic, grounded in an understanding of humanity's ability to survive against all odds. While she has earned the respect of her soldiers, there is a loneliness that clings to her. The weight of responsibility is isolating, but it is one she bears without question. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against Earth, Orton is determined to lead humanity's defense to its last breath. In the cold expanse of space, Commander Zilrith watches Earth's struggle unfold from aboard his flagship, the Eclipse Star. Zilrith is a high-ranking officer of the Siren Dominion, a brutal and technologically advanced alien empire that has long seen itself as the supreme force in the universe. His battle armor, a sleek, formidable suit, enhances his already impressive physical abilities and mental faculties, allowing him to control the battlefield with the precision of a master tactician. Zilrith views the galaxy as a hierarchy, with civilizations falling into a simple order, those with power and those beneath them. Earth in his eyes is a primitive nuisance, an insignificant speck that must be eradicated before it can rise to challenge the Siren's dominance. His arrogance fuels his belief that humanity's growing potential poses a cosmic threat that must be snuffed out before it becomes a true danger. Zilrith's mission is clear. Earth must be wiped from the galaxy. He has witnessed the fall of countless civilizations, each weaker and more easily crushed than the last. But humanity, he believes, is different. They have something others don't: resilience. While the Siren Dominion is capable of obliterating planets with ease, Zilrith knows that the humans' ability to adapt to challenges makes them unpredictable. In the name of cosmic order, he is tasked with leading the charge against Earth, eliminating its leadership and dismantling its fledgling military infrastructure. Zilrith is confident in his success, seeing humanity as no more than a fleeting obstacle in his path to ensuring the Siren's rule is uncontested across the stars. His certainty blinds him to the fact that the very traits he dismisses, ingenuity, stubbornness and adaptability, are the qualities that might save Earth from his inevitable destruction. The moment the eclipsed star enters Earth's solar system, the gravity of the threat becomes clear. The ship, a massive, imposing warship that dwarfs any human vessel, casts a shadow over Earth's defense stations. Its sleek design and advanced weaponry stand as a reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Earth's military, still in its infancy and outgunned by the Siren, watches helplessly as the Siren warship approaches. The planet's leaders scramble to coordinate a defense, but there is little they can do. The Siren have not come to negotiate. They have come to annihilate. With one swift strike, Zilrith's forces unleash their devastating power, crippling Earth's largest military base and sending the world into chaos. The first wave of attacks is relentless, each strike more precise and deadly than the last, forcing humanity into a state of confusion and fear. Zilrith, with his fleet in tow, begins his invasion. Advanced weaponry, cyber attacks, and tactical superiority overwhelm Earth's defenses as Earth's leaders struggle to unify. The once hopeful planet, whose presence in the galaxy had been almost unnoticed, now finds itself at the mercy of a far superior alien force. Zilrith's confidence grows as he watches humanity's leaders squabble, knowing that Earth's future has already been sealed. However, amidst the panic, Captain Orton rallies her forces. She knows that Earth's greatest strength lies not in their firepower, but in their ingenuity. With Earth's military scattered and their resources thinning, Orton begins to formulate a plan, a desperate plan to turn the tide and prove that Earth's spirit cannot be broken. The fate of the planet is now in her hands, and she is determined to fight until the last breath. The black expanse of space is shattered by the arrival of the Siren Dominion's flagship, the Eclipse Star. Its massive, angular form looms ominously in Earth's orbit, dwarfing anything humanity has ever constructed. This colossal warship, adorned with glowing runes and alien symbols, emerges as a harbinger of doom, signaling an overwhelming force sent to annihilate Earth. Its presence is a cold reminder of the power the Siren Dominion holds, and humanity is powerless in its shadow. As the eclipse star silently positions itself above the planet, tension builds across the Earth. Then, without warning, a single devastating beam erupts from the ship's core. The destructive energy tears through Earth's largest military base, reducing it to rubble in mere seconds. The weapon's sheer force sends shockwaves across the globe, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. Panic spreads as the news of the strike ripples through the population. Governments, already strained by internal struggles, scramble to regain control. But fear quickly becomes the dominant emotion on Earth. Military bases crumble, cities fall into chaos, and the sense of security humanity once had vanishes in an instant. The Siren have arrived, and Earth, despite its past efforts, is not prepared for the sheer scale of this threat. The planets and moons that once held the promise of future exploration and civilization now seem far away as Earth faces the harsh reality that it is no longer an insignificant planet in the cosmos. It is marked for extinction. Amidst the confusion, the global population begins to feel an overwhelming helplessness. Yet, in the face of this existential threat, there is a flicker of resistance. Humanity's instinct to survive, to adapt, begins to awaken. Captain Maria Orton stands at the helm of Earth's last hope. Her command center is a cacophony of urgent voices, the hum of technology, and the murmur of leaders struggling to maintain control. With the Siren's weapon devastating the military and causing global panic, Orton's leadership is put to the ultimate test. Her forces, though resilient, are severely outgunned by the technologically superior Siren. As the situation grows more dire, Autumn's resolve hardens. She knows that the only way to save Earth lies in her ability to rally the remnants of humanity's defense forces and lead them with a blend of pragmatism and tactical brilliance. Yet, even as she speaks to her subordinates, frustration mounts. The cold reality sets in that Earth's technology is no match for the Siren's advanced fleets. The raw power of the Siren, combined with their strategic precision, threatens to overwhelm humanity's defenses. But Autumn is not one to surrender. Despite the staggering odds, she formulates a plan, not one of brute force, but of ingenuity, of adapting in ways the Siren cannot anticipate. As Captain Autumn navigates the shifting political landscape, tensions within Earth's leadership threaten to tear the planet's fragile unity apart. The older world leaders, driven by a desire to preserve what little remains, call for diplomacy, arguing that negotiating with the Siren might be Earth's only chance for survival. Meanwhile, the younger, more radical faction, led by Autumn herself, believes that humanity must stand its ground, that the Siren must understand that Earth will not bow to their tyranny. This ideological divide creates a growing rift among Earth's political leaders, and Autumn finds herself not only battling the Siren, but also the fractured unity of humanity's leadership. Despite the political chaos surrounding her, Autumn's calm and pragmatic approach begin to win over some of the skeptics. Yet the clock is ticking. Time is running out for humanity to strike back, and with every passing hour, the Siren tighten their grip on Earth. Autumn faces the impossible task of uniting the human resistance before it is too late. Amidst the chaos, Autumn uncovers an unexpected breakthrough, an ancient prophecy buried deep within Earth's archives. It speaks of a powerful force that will rise to challenge humanity, one whose tactics are devastatingly effective but flawed. The prophecy describes the Siren Dominion's method of annihilation, an unstoppable force that will leave no survivors. But it also reveals something else, a chink in the Siren's seemingly impenetrable armor. The Siren, with all their technology and military might, are blind to one fundamental aspect of warfare: human adaptability. The revelation sends a spark of hope through Autumn. Humanity's strength lies not in matching the Siren blow for blow, but in their ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and adapt. And the knowledge gives her team a critical advantage. The Siren's tactics are predictable, their arrogance clouding their judgment. Autumn knows that this is humanity's one chance to strike back, but it will require more than just strategy. It will require creativity, resourcefulness, and an unwavering belief in human ingenuity. Armed with the knowledge from the prophecy, Autumn begins to piece together a counter-offensive. She assembles a team of military commanders, scientists, and engineers, each one tasked with developing strategies to exploit the Siren's blind spots. The stakes are higher than ever, and the weight of the mission weighs heavily on Autumn's shoulders. As the countdown to Earth's survival begins, she knows that this will be no ordinary fight. The battle will be one of wits, of outthinking a superior foe and using humanity's greatest asset, its adaptability, to survive. The revelation not only changes the course of the war, but sets the stage for humanity's final stand against the Siren Dominion. As Autumn looks out across the battlefield, she knows that the outcome will not be decided by raw power, but by the cunning and resilience of the human spirit. The room is dim, lit only by the glow of tactical maps and flickering screens. Earth's war room buzzes with tension as Captain Maria Autumn stands at the helm, her brow furrowed in concentration. Military strategists, scientists, and engineers gather around, each of them scrutinizing the data that's been pulled from the intercepted Siren communications. The Siren Dominion's fleet is a force of nature, advanced, ruthless, and seemingly unstoppable. Orton knows that conventional warfare will never work against such an enemy. The overwhelming odds make it clear, if humanity is to survive, it will not be through might alone. It will be through humanity's adaptability. The human race has survived countless challenges in its history, and now it must outthink an empire that sees it as nothing more than a nuisance. The meeting is tense. Officers from Earth's military, though experienced, are struggling with the weight of the crisis. They've never faced an enemy like this before, and fear of the unknown is evident in their eyes. But Orton's voice cuts through the room, steady and calm. She reminds them of what humanity has done before. When the odds were stacked against them, when all seemed lost, they didn't give in. They adapted. They improvised. She insists that this must be their greatest weapon now, innovation. The Siren, with all their technology, are predictable. They are creatures of logic, efficiency, and brute force. But they lack what humans have, always had, creativity. "We can beat them with what they don't see coming," Orton says, her eyes meeting each one of her commanders. "We don't need to match them strength for strength. We need to think differently." The officers begin to speak, each one proposing unconventional tactics, guerrilla strategies, and psychological warfare. Earth's brightest minds, often overlooked in favor of traditional military doctrine, are now given the floor to create weapons and technologies that can counter the Siren's superior might. Engineers and hackers, those once considered outsiders, are brought in to create the tools that humanity needs. The pressure is immense, but Orton's faith in the ingenuity of her people grows with each passing moment. They begin working around the clock, developing technology that, though still far behind the Sirens, is fueled by one simple human strength: adaptability. The world is watching, waiting. But for the first time in the war, there's a flicker of hope. Humanity is preparing to fight not with weapons, but with their greatest strength, the ability to outthink their enemies. The Siren fleet, led by their ruthless commander Zilrith, does not give Earth a moment to breathe. Their technology continues to overpower Earth's defenses, tearing through humanity's space stations with brutal precision. Each attack leaves humanity reeling, but Orton refuses to let her forces succumb to despair. The destruction is devastating, but she has something that Zilrith does not: human ingenuity. Earth's military forces, battered and outmatched, still have the will to fight. And fight they do. One breakthrough, however small, comes in the form of a highly experimental AI system designed by Earth's engineers. This AI, crafted from Earth's remaining technology, has been adapted to hack into Siren ships. For the first time, humanity gains a slight upper hand. The AI infiltrates Siren communications, wreaking havoc on their encrypted systems and sabotaging key components of their ships. The Siren, unaccustomed to this kind of interference, are forced to adjust. For a brief, shining moment, the tide begins to shift, but it's clear this victory is fleeting. The Siren, adaptable in their own right, will soon adapt to this new threat. The challenge remains the same. How can humanity use these small victories to create a lasting advantage? However, the strain of the war begins to take its toll. As the battle rages on, a new threat emerges from within. A faction of traitors, bribed and swayed by promises of power from the Siren Dominion, begins to undermine Earth's efforts from within. These traitors, once trusted members of the military and government, now work against humanity's survival, sabotaging Orton's strategies and weakening the morale of her forces. The revelation of this betrayal hits Orton hard, shaking the very foundation of her leadership. As her team grapples with the implications of this treachery, a deep divide begins to form within Earth's remaining leadership. Some call for peace talks, believing that humanity can't win this war. Others, led by Orton, push for continued resistance, determined that the Siren will never take Earth without a fight. The stakes are higher than ever, and Orton's resolve is put to the test. Can she keep her forces united, even as internal sabotage threatens to destroy everything they've fought for? The weight of the decision is unbearable. Orton's leadership is the last thread holding humanity's resistance together, but even she begins to question whether she can continue leading a fractured force. The political struggles within Earth's government threaten to tear apart the remaining hope of unity. In the last-ditch effort, Orton and her commanders make the difficult decision to retreat to a secret underground base, where they can regroup and prepare for the next phase of the war. The retreat is a desperate move, a surrender of the battlefield, but not the war. As Earth's remaining fleet limps to safety, the loss of lives and resources is painfully evident. The war, however, is far from over. Orton, ever the strategist, knows that this retreat may be humanity's only hope. The fight is not over. But with her leadership tested in ways she never imagined, the weight of Earth's survival presses down on her shoulders like never before. The road ahead is uncertain, but she refuses to give in. She will find a way to outsmart the siren, no matter what it takes. The stakes are higher than ever. But humanity's ingenuity, its greatest asset, will continue to guide them even when hope seems lost. Captain Maria Orton stood at the center of Earth's command room, her gaze fixed on the holographic map projecting an image of the Siren fleet. The towering black mass of the eclipsed star loomed like a shadow over their only hope. A quiet intensity filled the room as Orton's voice, steady but filled with the weight of urgency, cut through the tension. She was not a stranger to the impossible, to the desperate. But this was different. Humanity's survival depended on her decisions now. Conventional strategies won't work against them, she said, turning toward her officers. We can't match their firepower, but we have something they don't: adaptability. We'll need to outsmart them. We need a plan, not just to fight, but to survive and strike where they least expect it. The room fell into a focused silence as the commanders and engineers began poring over their resources. Some of them had fought in skirmishes on the edge of human-controlled space, but nothing like this. This was a fight for Earth itself. A faint hum of activity filled the room as Orton's team, once considered second-rate, now became humanity's best hope. They were tasked with creating innovative weapons and countermeasures to exploit the Siren's weaknesses. As plans started taking shape, Orton's mind raced. The Siren were technologically superior, their ships faster, their weapons more deadly. But humanity had something different, something the Siren did not anticipate. The ability to think beyond the box, to improvise, to turn the tide with the very elements the Siren ignored. Each strategist, each engineer, was briefed with a single directive: think different, think human. Far from the command room, Earth's forces were already under siege. The Siren fleet descended on Earth's space stations with terrifying force. Orton watched as the battle raged in real time, the Siren ships tearing through Earth's defenses like they were nothing. Her military commanders fought valiantly, but they were outclassed in every way. Yet Orton refused to let her forces collapse into despair. Even when they were on the back foot, even when their military was decimated, human ingenuity flickered like a dying flame, refusing to be snuffed out. One breakthrough came in the form of an experimental AI system built by Earth's most talented engineers. This AI, though crude compared to the Siren systems, was the first glimmer of hope. The AI was able to breach the Siren's encrypted systems, creating chaos within their fleet. Ships malfunctioned, communications were scrambled, and for a brief moment the Siren were rattled. The human victory was small, but it was a victory nonetheless. And in war, every small victory meant more than just a battle. It was the lifeblood of hope. But the relief was fleeting. The Siren quickly adapted, recalibrating their systems and restoring their dominance. Yet for a moment, humanity had proven it could push back against the most advanced empire the galaxy had ever seen. Orton's team had bought them time, but the real war against an overwhelmingly powerful enemy was only just beginning. Inside the heart of humanity's leadership, the cracks began to show. With each failed assault and mounting casualty, some leaders began to question Earth's ability to survive. Others, seduced by the Siren's promises, began to turn. Humanity's unity fractured, and trust within the command center began to erode. Orton's leadership was tested like never before. As whispers of betrayal spread, she could feel the weight of every decision bearing down on her. Was her leadership enough to hold humanity together, or was the enemy, both internal and external, too much for them to overcome? As Earth's situation became more dire, Orton made the difficult decision to retreat. The battlefield was lost, but the war was not over. Her forces pulled back to a secret underground base, a last refuge where they could regroup. In those moments, as Orton gazed at the weary faces around her, she felt the enormity of her responsibilities, of the fragile hope that still flickered. Earth had not yet fallen, but the struggle was far from over. The world had suffered grievous wounds, but humanity's spirit, despite everything, remained unbroken. In the underground base, as Earth's leaders argued over the next move, Orton took stock of their resources. The retreat was necessary, but it was not a surrender. They had lost battles, yes, but the war, this war for survival, had not yet reached its final stage. Orton prepared herself for the next phase. The Siren's arrogance was their greatest weakness. It was time to turn their own technology against them, and this time humanity would strike with cunning, not brute force. The shattered remains of Earth's military are spread across a fractured command room, the weight of survival pressing on each of the survivors. Captain Maria Orton stood before the group, her posture rigid despite the chaos around her. The flickering screens that surrounded her only amplified the tension. Earth had won, but at a cost. The Siren fleet was gone, but what remained of the planet lay in ruins, and the loss was staggering. Orton's heart ached at the thought of the many lost lives, yet she stood, resolute. "We survived," she said, her voice low but steady. "But this victory comes at a cost that will echo across the galaxy. We've been tested, pushed to the brink, and we've come out the other side. Now we rebuild. We rise." The room fell silent, and the weight of her words settled heavily on those who remained. The destruction had been immense. Entire cities decimated, lives lost, families torn apart. Yet there was something indomitable about the spirit that lived within humanity. The survivors, scarred as they were, stood ready to begin anew, to rebuild, not just their world, but their future. Orton glanced out at the crumbled remains of what was once Earth's military hub. Her sacrifice, along with that of so many others, had brought humanity back from the brink. She'd seen too many die, too many fall, each loss a heavy burden she carried. But she knew deep down that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons, it wasn't in their power. It was their ability to endure, to adapt, to survive. Earth's victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy, it was about the will to rise again. With Orton's name etched into history, her legacy became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when faced with the impossible. The world had seen the worst, but now it would see humanity's greatest strength, the will to rise from the ashes. A broken planet now began to rebuild, its people moving forward with cautious optimism, knowing that while their scars would never fade, neither would their resolve. The military forces had done their part. Now the civilian populations had to step up. Yet the cost of this victory weighed heavily on everyone. The world was fractured, torn apart by not just war, but by the devastation that had been left behind. Entire generations had been wiped out. In the struggle, and while the human spirit was alive and well, the emotional toll was just beginning to be felt. Survivors, though driven by the need to rebuild, were haunted by the memories of what had been lost. They were forced to reconcile their survival with the gravity of the choices they had made. There was no time for mourning. The world was already on the cusp of a new age, and it would be built with the strength of every soul that had fought and fallen. But as Earth's leaders gathered to plan the future, the reality began to set in. Earth had not just survived the Siren Dominion. They had overcome a threat that seemed insurmountable, and that meant something. They were no longer a small, insignificant planet in the eyes of the galaxy. They had proven their worth, and with that respect came responsibility. Humanity was now a force to be reckoned with. But with this newfound power came the burden of proving that they deserved their place among the stars. Diplomatic efforts began to take shape. Earth's leaders, once focused solely on survival, now had to navigate a complex web of galactic politics. The Siren were defeated, but many other factions in the galaxy now had their eyes on Earth. Some viewed them with respect, while others were cautious of their newfound strength. Earth had earned its place in the cosmos, but its future was uncertain. Would they remain steadfast in their ideals, or would they crumble under the weight of the vast galactic unknowns? The future was full of promise, but also peril. Yet, as Earth began to stand tall in the face of the cosmos, a new sense of unity began to emerge. The rifts that had once divided humanity were now slowly beginning to heal. The scars of war were not forgotten, but the lessons learned from surviving. Extinction formed the bedrock of the future. Earth's people no longer saw themselves as scattered factions. They saw themselves as survivors. United in the struggle for their existence, humanity now looked beyond their planet, eager to explore the stars, but wary of the challenges that lay ahead. Captain Orton's sacrifice would never be forgotten. The world would carry her name forward, as it carried the story of every soul who had stood in defiance. Humanity had done the impossible, survived a war they were never meant to win. And now, the universe would see what they had created. They would see a civilization that could rise from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Earth was no longer just a planet in the vast universe. It was a beacon of hope, a symbol of human ingenuity and resolve. And the galaxy would know one thing for sure: humanity would never be underestimated again. The victory against the Siren was hard won, but the real battle was just beginning. Earth, scarred by war, stood on the precipice of a new era. Captain Maria Orton stood at the heart of a war room, surrounded by the fractured remnants of Earth's military leadership. The Siren fleet was destroyed, their invasion thwarted, but that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Humanity's place in the galaxy had shifted. No longer a speck in the vast void, Earth had proven itself. The galaxy had taken notice, and with that came both respect and a daunting responsibility. Orton looked out over the war room, feeling the weight of her choices pressing on her. She had led them through the fire, but now the path ahead was even more uncertain. With their victory came new challenges: diplomacy, alliances, the delicate balance of power. Earth had fought for survival, but now it had to learn how to thrive, to navigate a galaxy filled with new dangers, and perhaps even greater enemies. Her leadership had secured humanity's place for now, but she knew that the real test was yet to come. Her mind wandered back to the days when the Siren was still a threat, when every battle, every decision felt like it could be the last. The hum of the room faded as her thoughts turned inward. The soldiers who fought, the civilians who rebuilt in the wake of devastation, the families torn apart by the war. They all carried pieces of this victory, just as they carried the scars. The galaxy may have witnessed humanity's strength, but it was the scars that would guide their next steps. The path ahead was fragile, a thread that could snap at any moment, but Orton's resolve was unshaken. Humanity had risen when it was pushed to the brink, and now they had to rise again, this time with a different kind of strength. Earth's survival was no longer about brute force. It was about knowing when to fight and when to build alliances. It was about learning how to exist among the stars, where strength and diplomacy must go hand in hand. As the galaxy watched, Earth prepared for the next phase of its existence. Orton knew that the days of pure survival were over. Now, humanity had to learn to navigate the complexities of intergalactic diplomacy. Her leadership, forged in the fires of war, would be tested in a new way. The stakes had changed. A powerful military was no longer enough. Humanity needed to learn how to coexist with other civilizations, to make allies where enemies once stood, and to use its newfound position wisely. Orton stood before the delegation, preparing to lead Earth into this new age. The stars above were no longer a symbol of unreachable distance. They were the frontier that humanity would now have to face. As the delegation prepared to step into the vast unknown, Orton felt the weight of the future on her shoulders. Every diplomatic mission, every encounter, carried the potential to alter Earth's future. The galaxy was full of possibilities, but it was also full of dangers. Earth had proven its strength, but now it would have to prove that it could maintain its place among the stars. The path ahead was uncertain. Earth's place in the cosmos was secure for now, but what came next would determine whether that security would hold. Humanity had fought, had survived, but survival was no longer enough. The true test would be to adapt, to think, to navigate. The complexities of a galaxy far larger and more dangerous than Earth had ever imagined. The stars were calling, but so were the shadows. The future was unwritten, but Orton knew one thing for sure: humanity had earned its place in the cosmos. And no matter what the stars threw at them, they would rise again.